Hey, this is Paul from Bare Knuckle Choppers, and we're going to be doing a tech article today on garage-built exhaust pipes for the do-it-yourselfer. I guess the way the economy is today and not everybody's working like they used to, we can't all afford a $1,000 set of exhaust pipes. So what I've done, we get our tubing from a company called Stall Headers. Jegs offers it, Summit, a lot of the other race car companies offer it. This is all going to be 1 3/4 tubing. J-bends, U-bends, some straight. You can tell the difference. You know, when you want to make inside and outside radius match, you got to use different tubing made off of different dies. This is going on in Evo, so here's our mock-up flanges and retaining rings, and then these are some little flanges that we make that'll slide over the end of the head tubing. And we'll weld it on there for the flange and the retaining ring to go on and hold it up tight to your head. So what I'm going to do now, I got a Friends Evo in here that I'm going to use for mock-up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld this on with just a quick fusion weld, and I'll take it over to my Burger King and grind the edges down, take some of the roughness out of it. And then I'm gonna head back over here and start mocking up the pipes. It's a customer order for an Evo, and it's something we don't make any of our pipes in a jig. It's all done right there on the bike, so we know everything's right each and every time. So here we go. Alright, so what I've done here, I know that I want the front pipe to come down and come underneath the air cleaner. So I went to my Boxo bins and I found something that I thought would be a good start. This one's going to do me great, but if you can see up there at the head, I'm going to be about pretty much 1 inch short. So I'm going to take a piece of straight tubing and I'm going to clean it up on both ends of my lathe, and then I'll weld it on here and I'll trim back to cut it to fit. So real quick, I'm just gonna double check one last time before I make it 100% permanent. I love that, it's gonna be right on. So the next step is I'm gonna go ahead and put on my retaining flange here. One side's turned on the lathe. I want that side going down. That'll be the side that my retaining ring is gonna hold against. The top side is not turned, it's just grinded down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it squared up perfectly on here, and I'm just going to fuse the entire thing. I won't add any filler rod. Alright, for my next piece, I want this one to come out and dump out right in front of the transmission. This particular customer wants a little bit of extra room right here. I don't recall why, but the key to making this cut is you want this straight line to run tangent into the radius of this back here. So it's real important to get this cut right, because if it's not tangent, you'll have a kind of an irregularity in the flow. It'll have a kind of a bump or a sharp edge. So I always mock these up and just go till there's no high side or low side to the left or right of the cut. Okay, so coming back from my grinder and my bandsaw, I'm really happy with the way everything lines up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off a little bit uphill from the bottom, because I know that I'm gonna put a tip on here, and the tip's not gonna be down here. I want the tip about right here, so that way I don't have to take the whole thing apart. I'll tack this one, then I'll have this open for putting my tips on when I'm done with the rear pipe. Alright, so the front pipe is finished except for the finish welding here and the tip. I always leave the tip for last. make your joke, whatever you want there. So the next I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to find a piece of tubing that will come from here up into the head with just one piece of tubing, so I don't have to do a lot of extra cutting and welding. And then this one's always tight right here. I may have to use a donut. We'll just see what kind of tight bends I have. All right, after a little trial and error, a couple of trial fitments, I got the next tube ready to go. Pretty happy with it. I may end up trimming this bottom right here. It just depends on what I find to come around the corner. So I'm gonna put on my retaining flange on the end of this right now, again with a fusion weld. So right here, what I got going on, I'm trying to figure out what I need to do to make the corner behind here. So right about here's a ballpark I want to end up. So what I need to do now is I need to trim back the head pipe and figure out a really hard, almost 90-degree bend back there. So I may end up using one of our donuts. All right, so this is one of the donuts that we have hydroformed, and then we plasma cut it apart. We have a little fixture that we set it down in, and it gets faced, basically like a surface grinder. And then we fold the two together and we weld the seam to get what's called a donut. Of course, the inside's gone. And this is a remnant of one of those, the end of one of these. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this in here to make a really tight corner. What this exhaust donut allows you to do is, you've got 1 3/4 tubing, and this is an 1 3/4 radius. So from the center here to the center here is 1 3/4, and an 1 3/4 tube will just barely fit through there. I mean, it just barely slides through. So it's really as tight as you can get. It's tighter than any bender can do. A bender would completely collapse the material. About 2.5 inches, I think, is about as tight as they can make these. So that's why we have these hydroformed and we weld them together. All right, since this is a donut, the center of it's not welded where it would come together. So what I have to do now is I gotta take this out and I have to tack it all the way around so that all of my margins line up and everything makes sense. All right, so what I'm doing here, I got my tip for this side, and now I got to figure out where to cut the other side so that they're going to look right next to one another. And then I'll finish grinding this one down so it matches up perfect. All right, so here's what we came up with. Our original with the flange, our little piece of the donut, which I went ahead and almost welded the entire thing all the way around. And now I've also trimmed it for the tip to go on. So what I'll do is I'll put it back in and get it all lined up. And then before I do the tips, I'm gonna go ahead and put my mount. We do a little mount right here in between the two so that I know nothing's gonna move anymore. And I'll put the two tips on and pull it out and finish weld it. Got a bunch of these spuds laying around in the machine. I just recessed it to the head of the Allen head cap screw. Now I'm going to take this other little spud that we make and I'm going to drill it and tap it. So that basically we'll have a clean mount, so I can mount upside down between the pipes. It'll keep any kind of rain or grit or grime from getting in there and messing up the guy's threads. How are we looking? What do you think, Chris? Is that about golden or what?
All right, on the 10. The way that airplane's on there ain't gonna...
Alright, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start polishing out the welds on the pipes. This particular set is getting black high temp paint with black heat wrap. So I'm going to start off with my 4.5 inch grinder with a flap wheel. them onto a 2-inch right angle air grinder. And then finally I'll finish up with my DA. Basically what I want to do here is I want to hit just my high spots. This particular weld had a little bit of an overlap, and this is 16 gauge tubing, so I got a little bit extra room where I can take a little bit out to float out the difference in the material. One side's a little bit oblong, but you just want to take out the high spots with this, and then as my grits get finer, then you start to float out the grinding marks and blend everything. You'll notice already I've got about a 1/2 inch, maybe 5/8 of an inch wide stripe going from my flap wheel. Now I'm gonna go about 2 or 3 times as wide with this. We want to start floating it out where you can't see any dips. All right, so there we are done with our 220. I'm gonna pop the rings and flanges off of here. I'm gonna clean them up real good with acetone and then spray bomb them black with some high temp paint. And tomorrow we'll wrap them, and that'll be it. The paint has had plenty of time to dry, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the wrap. It's dry right now, and we're gonna just pre-wrap the pipe to get the exact length that we need. Unwrap it, and then we'll throw both chunks of pipe in a water bucket, because when you wrap them when they're wet, they wrap way tighter. So that's what we're doing. Could you hold the pipe for me? Kind of doing this backwards from what I normally do, but it's all right. Chopper pipes.